why is everyone
Yeah.
so fat? Like it's the men and the women, everybody's it's like fatties, everywhere. So it's like
Well,
why are there whales? It's like whales everywhere. Is it
well,
is it the food
I
supply?
have
Because it wasn't like that 100 years ago. Like what changed?
it wasn't. It wasn't. Our food has changed, but our environment has changed dramatically too. Let me give you an
Okay.
example. Okay. Now I can pull up a great journal of nutrition that way and show you that just even the hormones that can cause weight, the hormones that can cause other conditions there, we have taken certain foods that they think are good, but they're not that great. And if you look at having some form of soy, and they're giving babies soy formulas, and they're causing hormonal disruptions and things like that at a young age. So
Soy
it's
is
it's
bad.
I encourage especially men, but also women that have any kind of estrogen problems, to avoid it
Okay.
because there can be some negative effects to it that can relate to hormones. And see, here's what happens when you look at hormonal disruptors. There's so many multifactorial things. I mean, the fact this, no joke. I will say in my clinical experience of 24 years, and I've looked at, and I will underestimate. I've looked at well over 100,000 female hormone labs done properly. That mental stress really dominates them. Men, it's actually their habits. Now, men with mental stress can mess up some things, but what it does for them, it also helps their testosterone because it's aggression. If I were to attack, I saw your studio, your the man setting up your studio before we started, and
Hmm.
guess what happens? If I were to attack him, his testosterone would jump up.
Hmm.
If I were to physically attack you, your female hormones who make you are will start to deplete.
Hmm.
See what I'm saying? So there's multiple things that can happen, but we are affected similar in a couple ways. And I believe that how we, I've said this. It's an old saying: "You are what you eat." I don't want to put rotten lumber into a house I want to build.
Hmm.
It's going to affect you psychologically and physically. So I always want to stay more on, because I don't like to debate about emotional stuff. I like to
Hmm.
stay, of course, say, listen, that when you see estrogens elevate in a man, it's going to express feminine characteristics. It
Okay.
does. So your argument, not yours, anybody's argument, that says, well, no, it's not yeah, it's all biological. So I recently had this. I recently had a young lady who was 18 years old. She wanted to take, she believed that she was a boy. And I'm not going to sit there and argue with people. I will tell you this, Pearl. I've sat across these for way before it became even popular.
Hmm.
I sat across from people that thought they're transgender even 20 years ago. And they truly believe it. They truly in their heart believe it. Okay. And I sat across this young lady that thought she was a boy. Because this is me, I'm just a
Hmm.
Christian person. So I believe everybody gets respect in my view, regardless if we have different beliefs.
Hmm.
And so I even called her by her guy name. Okay.
Hmm.
And here's what happens this. I said to, and now that her parents have any control of her, she wanted to start taking hormone therapy.
Hmm.
Okay. And I said, can you do me a favor? Can I see your hormone labs? And she goes, well, I never had any done. I said, wait. So they're going to do, which they consider ethical, which I think is disgusting. They're going to start putting synthetic hormones in you to try to transition you. Can you do me a favor? Can we at least get your labs? Because if your testosterone levels are normal and they give you to 400, go see what happens to women if those levels get elevated that for a long period of time. PCOS, other androgen type conditions that lead to diseases and even cancer.
Hmm.
So, how is it as a doctor we take an oath, first do no harm? Well, get this. We had her labs done. She was already testosterone elevated.
What was she at? So you
So,
said 25 was normal. What was she at?
well, you can go as high as 48 based on your lab ranges that way, but she was at like 90, which would be double the
Wow.
ranges.
So
Of
no wonder
course, if
she.
you look at
I'm
her,
so curious what mine would be. I'm like so curious
well,
because I feel like mine's probably elevated because of all the sports I did. Like I feel like it
well,
probably is. Go ahead.
and it can be because here's what happens during sports. You guys feel this when you aggressively push yourself. Your adrenals are going to reach certain corticosteroids, certain cortisol, certain testosterone, certain epinephrine, certain
Hmm.
norepinephrine. And the thing is, all those things are measurable. So all I started to do when it started with my wife
Hmm.
24 years ago, I said, "You suffer from these physical and mental things. Let's measure it." So now, if you believe you're transgender, which guess what, you can believe what you want. Here, watch this, ladies. People want to argue this. Well, it's just a belief. Well, ladies, let me ask you a question. let's just look at even if your cycle is normal, there's no hormonal problems.
Mm-hmm.
You change 4 times in a month.
Mm-hmm.
You experience different things every week based on your hormone levels. Do you understand? Hormone levels actually get you to view the world the way it is. Because
Really?
if your levels are low, it's going to be depressed levels. You will see the world as a depressive bad thing. See, it changes the view. So how could person not think they're a boy or girl or something like that? See, I don't have those arguments. I go, let's just measure hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone I've ever dealt with. And remember, and I have hundreds of doctors. I have trained thousands of doctors.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not just one little clinic, okay? I've actually started to speak in this. Now I speak on all stages, medical, natural, political, all these things. Say, hey guys, let's stop having emotional arguments. Let's look at the biology of people, because maybe they're suffering on the inside. Because when my wife was said, you can't have children, there was something internally that she had no control over. Ladies, you know this. You have no control over it, and therefore you think there's something wrong. Women don't realize as their emotions go up and down, they're like, Doc, I feel like I'm all over the place. I'm like, good, that's called being a woman. What week are you in? And women come and go, Doc, you gave me mental peace because, see, unlike guys, testosterone levels go up and they stay very the same most of the time. They only have a little change. They only have a little change in the morning, okay? And testosterone's a little bit higher in the morning than it is at nighttime. Ladies, how could you tell that on your man? He wakes up in the morning and guess what happens? It's out of his control. You know what I'm saying? He has this morning erection. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And see, you would laugh about this, but we know this. And all I'm speaking to you, so everything I just talked to you about, you can go look up in a book.
Mm-hmm.
But ladies, you change 4 times in the month. And you always ask, Pearl, I absolutely love your show.
Mm-hmm.
And you always ask the question and say, what do men and women have wrong about each other? Well, and they give all these answers, and I love all their answers. I absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
But my perspective is totally different. It's very difficult to understand a woman when you don't understand their hormones, that they change every week. And so when you go into a relationship, you have to understand that you're going to deal with 4 different individuals every single month. Mm-hmm. And what men do, they go, well, she's all over the place. I'm like, yeah, it's called being in a relationship with a woman. Now, they're wrong. Yes, if there's bad hormones, it's dramatic and it's all over, and there's major issues. But we have to understand that these hormonal effects are very biological. It can lead to some very devastating things.